So Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center, and we're joined now by the editor-in-chief of the Fourth Period. He is the co-host of DFO Insider each and every Wednesday here on the Nation Network with our buddy Irf Kefir. So it's been a busy day for David Pagnotta. Thanks for fitting us in. How you doing? Happy New Year. Absolutely. Happy New Year, boys. I'm good. Tide has changed in Toronto a little bit where I am right now. And sky isn't falling anymore. Give it two L's in a row and then it'll start. But
Austin Matthews can play hockey.
Yeah,
apparently.
that Austin Matthews guy, not so bad.
Yeah. Who
as
knew?
It turns out.
It took a little bit of time. It took some time. He's rolling again.
Just before we get into Canucks trade talk, though, Blake and I were just so greatly amused at Brad Marchand dropping the fans running Mitch Marner out of town. Oh my God. Yeah. Can only imagine how that went over with the blue and white faithful there in town.
He is everyone was talking about it. He is just a professional in the way he handles himself. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows the messaging. He knows that that's going to creep back in the room in some way, even though he started blaming the fans, as you said. Anything he can do to mind bleep the opposition in some fashion, he's all for it.
Or the fan base.
Delicious.
It's directed at everyone. It's the Leafs were the second team on my list. If it wasn't for Florida, that's who I wanted to sign with.
It's like past tense tampering.
He's indiscriminate, but he's got a special focus on the Maple Leafs. And when David calls him a professional, I'm not sure if he's a better hockey player than Shit Disturber or Shit Disturber hockey player, but he's elite in both categories.
The networks are going to be falling over themselves for him, though, aren't they? When he retires, can you imagine? Between Sportsnet and the two U.S. panels, I mean...
No stop at a regional, straight to national,
straight to
like the XA.
100%. He's going TNT, and they're going to have scrap battles against Biz.
That's right.
In the middle of the show. That's when he's ready in like 5 years, whenever his contract ends. Just a pro in all sense. Then he got hurt last night, so he didn't finish the game. But
no.
They managed to I can't remember who got him, but somebody got him pretty decently. So we'll see what happens there. But look, I love it. It's entertaining for me, and I get to see all my buddies in Toronto freak out about him every time.
All right, on to the Canucks, David. It's been 7 weeks since they sent that memo out to all general managers about their UFAs being available. Tell us, where do things stand by your information on Kefir Sherwood?
Well, it's picked up and has continued to pick up since the end of the holiday break. So a little over, a week and a half now, something along those lines. But the conversations have definitely picked up around the league. And then there was a report of contract and offer and this, that, and the other. On that, a little clarity on the contract situation. It was part of an overall discussion, is my understanding with this camp as to what they wanted to do, how they wanted to continue to proceed. And I don't think it was a formal, here's what we want to give you. I think it was based on what I was told with people with direct knowledge of those discussions, that it was part of the conversation that, hey, we're looking at, what if we just, threw this number at you? What if we made this happen? And it was still far off. The Kiefer Sherwood's looking for $5+ a year. I think it was around or just under $4 million, and he's looking for $5+. So I think some teams also wanted to have a good idea as to where that ballpark range kind of is, because I haven't gotten the sense that the Canucks have given permission for other teams to speak with his agent. So all that to say, conversations on the trade front definitely continue. And the indication that I've gotten from a number of people around the league is the preference, and I think it's definitely the preference on the player side, and I would imagine the Canucks as well, is that they want to get this matter of business taken care of sooner rather than later. And we're within that time frame, that first half of January, where that's the ideal target in terms of getting him moved on to another city. The price tag hasn't changed, and clearly teams are trying to battle that in some way. First round pick plus. Some teams willing to give a second. Canucks are holding out for more.
That makes a lot of sense because, a contract offer to this age of player at the peak of the market, that that goes contrary to everything they're trying to do right now and would have been lambasted by the fan base.
Can I just pick up on something, David?
Yeah.
Because I've seen some reports that there are a lot of contending teams that want to wait until after the Olympic break to make their moves. Not that Kiefer Sherwood's going to be he's not a U.S. Olympian or anything like that. But have you heard that as well? Is there anybody, or are there teams out there that are a little wary of making their moves pre-Olympic roster freeze next month?
I haven't, actually. I spoke with Irf and I actually spoke with Matthew Darsh, the GM of the New York Islanders, on the Insider Edition later on, and he told us that if there's an opportunity to make something happen now, because it allows guys, especially guys that aren't going to the Olympics, more time to get acclimated to their new teams. Like, teams are allowed to, like, there's a break for everybody, and then
you can skate.
Practice. Yeah, skates begin, I think, at the 17th or something like that. So there's about a 7-day window or 10-day window for teams to get back at it and to practice. So that's valuable for a lot of teams. Ultimately, it comes down to when these guys are going to decide to pull the trigger on moves. But talking to Darsh today, talking to a number of other GMs around the league, I don't think anyone is waiting or has set in stone that they're going to wait until after the Olympics, because there's only I think a 12-day window from the end of the freeze to the trade deadline itself in order to make moves. So I believe that there's still teams that would like to get some business done this month, going into, I think it's the 4th, February 4th, where the freeze begins. And I think in Sherwood's case and a number of others, like teams that are looking to buy, are certainly looking at that. The other thing with Sherwood, again, is just it's a $1.5 million cap hit. This isn't $5 million, $6 million, $7 million player. To fit them into the cap, sure, you can wait until the trade deadline and still be fine. But a lot of teams can afford to do this now financially without having to wait extra to accrue additional cap space. So I don't think it's a monetary issue. I think it really just comes down to just pure negotiations. Who's going to budge first, and is somebody willing to give the Canucks the price that they're looking for?
Yeah, February 4th to 22nd is the roster freeze. So if you're allowed to get back on the ice February 17th, then conceivably you want to make that deal beforehand, right? Because it gets your guy 5-6 days.
And meshed a little bit more,
and then March 6th for the trade deadline, which is, in fact, 12 days after the end of the roster freeze on the 22nd.
We've asked you a lot about Evander Kane over the last month or so, and that file doesn't seem to be moving. There's not a lot of nibbles. You can correct us if we're wrong there, but you look at the other vets, and hey, there's been prominent healthy scratches. Kane has been one of them, but so is Jake DeBrusk. Now he's woken up because of that healthy scratch, and the production is there. He's got trade protection, and nobody is pushing Jake DeBrusk out of town by any stretch of the imagination. But he's an asset that has some value. And if Jake DeBrusk thought the Vancouver Canucks were on the upswing and wanted to join a playoff contender, that's been a disappointment for him, I'm sure, this season. Is there something there for Jake DeBrusk, maybe a mutual desire to find a new home for Jake DeBrusk, despite the fact that, again, that nobody's got a terrible problem with the player?
No, nobody does. This isn't them trying to create a narrative where they want to move him out and force his hand to waive his no movement clause. And by the way, yes, on Evander Kane, nothing's really picked up on that front. If something does happen there, probably closer to the actual trade deadline, if there's anything that moves in that regard. But back to DeBrusk, talking to so after he was scratched, and that was primarily performance-based. Obviously, when something like that happens, teams start to poke around, say, oh, you're scratching this guy. Where's your thought process? Where are you guys at? How's the relationship? How are you viewing the player? You've already moved Quinn. You're moving other guys. You're willing to listen on a variety of guys. Is he somebody you're willing to listen on? And the indication that I've been given is yes, Jake DeBrusk is a player that they are willing to listen on. I don't know what the price tag is. I don't know what the asking price is to this extent. I think it's still relatively early, but the notion that I've gotten from other teams is that there's at least a willingness to have that conversation. And then if it starts to tickle their fancy, then they'll bring it up the food chain, and the food chain includes DeBrusk himself because he's got full say with the no move. But from what I've been told from other teams, there's a willingness to listen on that front.
And is that contract length or number completely palatable for a lot of teams, or would there be retention needed in that case?
I don't think there'd be a need. I don't think there'd be a desire to retain on it from the Canucks perspective, but I think it's a palatable contract. If you believe in his capabilities, if you believe and accept the fact that he is a roller coaster type of player in terms of production, you're going to get spurts that are really good and spurts that are a little soft, numbers wise. But I think there's an understanding as to the type of player he is. He generated a lot of interest when he was a free agent. There are teams that still view him as a quality top six, second line type of asset that they can have from a secondary scoring role. So I think there's going to be, or there would be decent interest in this player. And I don't think the contract is a deterrent at all.
David, we've heard some smoke out of Edmonton this past week. Of course, that's where Jake's from. That's where his dad continues to call hockey games. They are trying desperately to move Andrew Mangiapane out the fold and are one of the cap-tight teams amongst the contenders. Do you think there's any kind of fit here with Mangiapane in the 3.6 heading out, maybe even heading to Vancouver with DeBrusk going the other way, and the Canucks reap the benefits of whatever DeBrusk's trade value is and whatever they may get for taking Mangiapane off Edmonton's hands?
I don't. So a couple things on that. I think if the Canucks are moving DeBrusk, they're going to want somebody that fits their hybrid rebuild, whatever they called it. In terms of bringing somebody in that's in the early to mid 20s range, that's controllable. I don't know necessarily. I don't think, this is my guess, that Mangiapane is a player that would be overly attractive to the Vancouver Canucks right now, especially if you're moving a guy like DeBrusk out. Yes, you're right. Edmonton wants to get rid of him. They want to find him a new home. It hasn't worked there. He's had a couple. This is now his second season where he's been on a bit of a slump. Hasn't been able to find his game because he's been bounced around a lot. They thought it would be an immediate fit with the Oilers in their top six. It didn't work. He's been bounced around the lineup. Just hasn't found his game. Now he has a full no trade as well. And for him, it's more of finding the right fit for him, whether it's a contender, whether it's a team that's on the upswing, whether it's a rebuild, whatever, to reclaim his game because he's got another year on his contract. So he wants to kind of get back to the player he was prior to going to Washington a couple seasons ago when he was a lot more productive. So he wants to build that up. And I don't know if Vancouver is the right fit. I don't believe so. And I just don't see a correlation between a DeBrusk Mangiapane type of move. Now, would the Oilers have interest in DeBrusk? I believe they would. I just don't know how they would be able to pull that off. Mangiapane aside, this might have to be another type of deal.
Are you purporting that a scoring winger would like to have a centerman? Is he being picky like that?
He might just be a better player with the centerman. I was thinking aloud here, workshopping.
Might work. It might work. That's never a bad thing. If you can build a little bit of chemistry with your line mates, especially at the dot, that's not bad. The pivot guy usually helps, but we'll see kind of how this goes.
Yeah, well, the one thing I'm wondering, David, when you mentioned controllable players in their early to mid 20s, Rutherford has given voice to that a lot. They give voice to that profile of player a lot more than they even mention first-round picks. And I do wonder if they're hoping for a banana that's a little more yellow than green in a Kiefer Sherwood deal, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, whatever ends up coming back in this, and again, the ask is like that's the value description. So first-round pick plus,
yes.
or equivalent value.
Or equivalent,
right?
Which you've used with us in the past, to be fair.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because if it means bringing a prospect who's on the cusp, who has first-round value, then I think the Canucks would be all over that type of a return. Again, it hasn't happened yet, so they haven't gotten that, and at least not to whom they like. But if it's not the pick itself, they're looking at guys. And this also goes for some of, if they do move out other players that have added value to their game. this hybrid retool, rebuild, whatever. The picks are great, and they've got 2 now in the first round. If they can add a third, awesome. That's even better for them. But at the same time, if not, still having players that are on the cusp, on the verge of being NHL players or are already proven, then that's kind of, it sounds like the direction that they're going in, with obviously visible from the Quinn Hughes trade, but also with how they're having conversations with other teams involving some of their other assets, Connor Garland included. They're not looking to necessarily move out wholesale changes with Garland, with DeBrusk, with Petey, with whomever. But if they do get into those heavy conversations with these players, and there seems to be a willingness for those guys and others as well to listen on, then those are the caliber of assets that they're looking to have come back in a return.
But the Oilers, after years of contending, don't even have yellow bananas.
No, they don't.
They don't have any bananas. So that's the problem.
They're going to...
they have dried fruit. That's it.
They're going to need to make a trip to Costa Rica or make an order, although are those tariffs now in the new world? I don't know.
Who's to know?
Yeah.
They'll find a way. But yeah, they don't have... The young pieces that they do have, that they've started to call up and give NHL experience to, more for Hudson, more for Savoy, who's been there all season, more for I forgot the other kid that they got from Tampa. Anyway, they're giving those. Isaac Howard. Thank you.
Howard,
the self-proclaimed best dressed in his draft class. They want to give those guys a little bit of NHL runway. Savoy's getting it now full, but they want to give some of the other guys some of that runway as well, because they want to insulate some of their roster with those players. If those guys are doing well, then perfect. They don't cost much. They're on minimal deals. It allows them to focus on other elements in terms of spending their money moving forward. So as much as they don't have it, what they do have, they're trying to hold on to.
Yeah, and it should be noted, it's a great point, David. This is about the time of year where general managers go to head coaches and say, hey, can you give this young player a pretty good run here? Because I want to know by the deadline whether this is someone who's going to help us now or figures as a good part of our future, or if this is somebody who is pliable, somebody that we are willing to move to try and get a better or more veteran player for our Stanley Cup playoff run. Dallas did it last year with Maverick Bourque, or at least Dallas wanted to do it with Maverick Bourque. I'm not sure Pete DeBoer played him as much as Jim Nill would like, but there are those sorts of situations that I think are going to play out here around the National Hockey League with younger guys on the cusp, guys who've got pedigree but are playing lower in the lineup or not playing much at all as they get opportunity. Marvelous stuff, sir. Thank you for joining on a Wednesday, no less. We'll get back to Thursdays next week, and be sure to check out DFO Insider each and every Wednesday with David and with Irf. Thank you, sir.
You got it, boys. See ya.